This is case number 25-4742 SD, the people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Arthur Porth. We are here for a sentencing after a plea was taken on January 22nd to an operating while intoxicated. The appearances, counsel.
Please develop for the people.
And I'm Jeff Harrison. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Porth. He's joining me at the table.
All right, and I have received the substance use assessment. Have both of you received that as well?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are there any corrections or additions to be made to it?
I don't think so.
I don't have any, Your Honor.
All right, allocution then, Mr. Harrison.
If you could indulge me for 1 second, I lost my screen. Thank you. There's a kind of a contrast here that I think is pretty compelling, where you've got a guy that faithfully served his country in the armed forces, and by all accounts was doing fine in that arena, who made an error in judgment that resulted in him being convicted of I guess the equivalent charge here would be driving while intoxicated, causing death in the state of Arkansas, for which he was sent to prison. Then you kind of bounce back from that and you say, well, he was able to stay abstinent, of course, while he was in prison. He was in prison about 7 years. And why in the world would he have made the decision to drink that night? And I think it was just simply a matter of the amount of stress he was experiencing overwhelmed his sobriety impulses as well. It's often a strange thing to me when I see the idea, I guess, is that someone needs to remain completely abstinent from alcohol for the rest of their lives. And I think that's a lot to ask, especially of a younger person. He's certainly younger than I am. I don't know if that makes him a young person or not. So I think it's naive for anyone to assume that he would never, ever touch alcohol again. But he did. And that's the difficult thing to look at in this case. There was some evidence that he was not driving appropriately. He was pulled over by the police and tested and is above the local limit. I don't know what else to say, Your Honor, except this. I think it was an honest mistake that he made that night. I don't think he had any intention, certainly not of repeating the incident for which he was imprisoned. When he did what he did that night, I don't think he realized the level of impairment that he was at. And that has a lot to do, ironically, with the fact that he had no experience with alcohol for about 10 years, all told. I don't know how else to say it, because I've gotten to know Mr. Porth in the process of this case, and I know he's an extremely proud person. He's extremely proud of his service to his country. He's extremely disappointed in himself because he knows he can and he believes he will maintain sobriety on into the future. He spent a significant amount of time in jail, and I understand that some or all of that subsumed by the fact that he has a parole violation pending in Arkansas. The initial understanding that we had through Mr. Van Atmel, who's been supervising him on a interstate, is that if it were up to him, I'm loosely quoting Sean here, he would vote to return Mike to prison. And there's nothing we can do about that, Your Honor. I believe that's entirely, I don't believe it's appropriate. I believe it's really inopportune. Of course, it's inopportune. I just wanted the court to have a full background of why Mr. Porth might seem a little bit more, what's the word? Sorry, a little bit more agitated than the usual person who stands convicted of a 93-day misdemeanor and can put that in perspective as one night, one bad decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dahl?
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, the people are requesting that defendant be sentenced in 93 days in jail. I don't believe probation is appropriate. If 6-7 years in prison didn't teach him to drink and drive, I don't believe probation will. While drinking and driving, got the worst possible consequence when he was younger in life, and somebody died as a result. That is a tragic consequence of driving while intoxicated, and I believe he had many years to think about it, and not even off parole, not even a year after he was released from prison, he drank again and drove. Luckily, this time nobody got hurt, but this is something that he has not learned from, and there's no more time that could be given on a OWI first in this case. I understand that violation of parole potentially could happen. He could potentially go back to prison. So we're just asking for the maximum at this point. Thank you.
What brought him to law enforcement's attention?
I believe he had a broken taillight, and then when they followed him, he crossed the center line and then crossed the fog line, almost hitting parked vehicles. His I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
His BAC was 0.149.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harrison, do you know when the parole hold was placed on him?
I don't. I think it was virtually right at the same time because of Mr. Van Atmel's courtesy supervision that he was immediately aware of the pendency of this case. That's my understanding, and if I'm disabused of that note, I will let you know.
That would make sense. I just want to make sure if he is entitled to credit, that he gets the right credit. Can we check on that? Yeah. All right, so we've double checked. The hold was placed on him on November 8th, so at the time of his arrest. Also, there's no update from Arkansas because bond hasn't been posted yet. So, Mr. Porth, you had the right to address the court prior to sentencing. Is there anything you'd like me to know?
I would. I think that there's a lot quite missing. There's never ever an excuse to disobeying law or any authorization above me. But I think the time that I spent in counseling at my own will, not being told to, I think that was left out. And I pretty much been to counseling every month, most of my time now, except for when I took on my new job. I hardly had any time my own self to do anything after that. So it was a little bit hard to do counseling. My time in the fire department, I was in Pleasant Plains Township Fire Department for a little while. And just, I worked almost every day, nonstop. Most weekends, even when I'm told to stop working, I still keep working. So a little bit stressful, it may very well be, is a complete understatement. I've not only once given most of my life for everyone and anything in front of me, but not only has my time outside, but also had others to reflect on themselves and get them to understand a sense of sobriety and get back on their feet, giving everything that I have. I do believe that the 1 minute of miscalculation in my judgment, everything should be seen.
How long were you,
Tired, very tired.
how long were you in the service?
I was in for 4 years. I've messed up most of my body. There's a lot of things that nobody here knows, like the blunt force trauma that I had to my head. I've had a bullet that breached my helmet at one point. So there's a lot more than just, being stressed or life hitting you. Not being able to cope with everything prior to even prison or any of this, even my felony, it still gets me to this day. And I don't know if anybody even told anybody anything, because I don't know anything, but alcohol is the least of my worries right now. Most of the nights that I don't spend being able to sleep due to things that have happened to me a lot younger. People look at me as an animal, but yet I'm willing to give every last bit of breath to everybody if I can.
Well, I don't see you as an animal.
Yeah.
I don't, and I don't think anybody here does. So how long have you been, I know you said you just did counseling on your own. How long had you been in counseling?
A week after I got out of prison, I went to go see CMH in Baldwin. Sometimes it'd be twice a month, sometimes it'd be once a month. My therapist, her name's Christine Luther, and my other, I don't even know if she's technically considered VA therapist, consultant, Emily Cumming. They've helped me out tremendously.
So do you get services through the VA?
I do not.
You don't.
I apparently didn't do enough for the country going to the VA.
You were in the Guard, correct?
I was.
When were you discharged? So it looks 2019, it looks like.
I do believe early 2019.
Then how long after release was your accident in Arkansas?
From the accident to release from prison,
No, from when your service ended with the Guard.
I was still in the military. I think
In a
2 to
sense
3
that,
months after.
Okay.
They weren't able to quite finalize anything prior to, because I hadn't waived my rights to a military hearing.
And so you were honorably discharged
General under honorable conditions.
under honorable conditions. Okay. So I read in the assessment, I got it here. That you were drinking because you were having a bad day, and I realized that some of it, that looks like because you hadn't been paid for quite a while.
Long time.
Was there anything else going on that day?
There's a lot of things. I had not only I was missing 5 weeks of pay But after that, I lost my apartment due to not being able to be paid. So I had to start using a lot more of my survival skills at that point. I can't I have a really hard time with being in closed spaces. No, not because of prison. A lot more to it, so it's difficult for me to just sit in a homeless shelter. So things are a lot more different and difficult than
Are you from Michigan?
I was born and raised.
Okay. And so were you stationed in Arkansas then when that
I
happened?
started at the 1430th Engineering Company in Gladstone.
Okay.
And then I transferred to the 217th Field Artillery in Arkansas about 2 years, I do believe, into my first term. Got married to my wife, met AIT, so a little bit difficult driving from Michigan to Arkansas.
Have you been working with CMH while you're in the jail now?
I tried to, but they haven't come to see me like I was told that they were going to. I tried reaching out to them a couple of times.
Okay. Have you been doing any, have you been working with the jail social worker at all or?
Yes,
Okay,
I went and seen her, I think 2 or 3 times.
okay.
And I
Doing any AA classes or anything like that?
I've been to the AA classes. I think I've been there about 3 times as well.
Yeah,
So how long do you have on your entail from Arkansas?
I do believe I have till 2030, I think 4 or 5 years left. I was, I sent a request to Sean about transferring to a better location to where I have actual help. My family. My mom had originally wanted me to come up here to Michigan, and because she informed me that she had cancer, or she was being diagnosed as such. And when I got up here, I told her I'd do everything to take care of her, only to come to find that she had no such disease. And it messed me around entirely because I had a lot of plans to work in Arkansas for the Dana, and I would have been well substantially taking care of myself then.
What is Dana?
Dana is a safety supply that builds most of Arkansas State Police's vehicles.
Okay.
I used to build, I think I've built close to 30 state troopers squad cars from front to back. Did anything from the pit bumper to the hard wiring and programming, everything.
So did you parole right to Michigan then, or how long? You did?
I paroled to my mother. It was a bad mess. She informed my my first parole officer that the house was clear, it was safe. She had no alcohol, no guns, nothing of the sort. When I got there, she had alcohol. And I told her, I said, you gotta get rid of that. You know, we can't have that sitting in the house. And she said, that shows nothing to worry about. And I said, I'm not gonna risk my parole because of whatever you have going on. And I asked her, I said, did you get rid of the gun that you did have? And she kept telling me, yes, yes, yes. I said, okay. A little time went by and my uncle died. She brought multiple rifles into the house, and that I couldn't no longer stay in that house. So I told my parole officer about the situation. And he just told me, you find a parole address, tell me. So I spent some more time trying to get another address that I could live and also work my job, which was in Baldwin. It took me probably a few months before I finally restabilized my own self. And then not only taking care of myself, my wife, my kids, and others around me. There's a lot to take.
So were you had said you'd lost your housing. Were you no longer living in Baldwin then when this happened?
No, I had to move because of my mom. I was staying with my mom. There was quite a while. And the guy that I went to go live with after that, he apparently had many domestic disputes with his tenants. So the parole officer that I was trying to connect with over in Big Rapids, I do believe, he denied that address immediately because of those current red flags. And so I respected that and tried to move back towards Wellston where my new job is. It was
So where were you living when this happened?
I was actually staying in my boss's shop.
In Wellston?
Yes.
So what brought you to the American Legion here? I assume it was the American Legion in Cadillac.
I took on darts.
Okay.
It's been in my family's blood for a very long time. It's just there.
So was there a league you were on, or was it just?
Yes.
Okay. And then the assessment says you decided to go to Taco Bell, but you were stopped near the Dollar General.
I did go to Taco Bell, yes.
You did? Okay.
I was from that Taco Bell, heading back towards the shop in Wellston.
So did you get stopped on by the Dollar General by the lakes or the one downtown?
It's
right across from where it used to
812
be the
South
Admiral.
Wellston or South Mitchell Street.
Okay, so the one downtown.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
it's not the Admiral anymore, but that's the land.
Okay. Mr. Porth, how did you handle not having alcohol after you were released? Did you?
I was perfectly fine.
Okay. And was this truly the first time after being released?
I'd had a one major breakdown, but I didn't. It was like literally a shot.
Okay.
It was when my uncle died, and I told my parole officer about it.
When you were in prison, did you do any type of programming for alcohol?
They said that I was not eligible for programming there because of how they viewed me. It's not so much as that alcohol being a part of my life being the issue. It's not being able to release I don't have very many people that I trust talk to get things off my mind. So when I lose those things in my life, I battle a lot harder. When I was 12 years old, I had a time where I was sexually abused that I hadn't informed my mom about. Sometimes it's just a little bit difficult.
Is there anything else you want me to know?
Like I said, I was gonna tell Sean that I was gonna move back down, you know, where I should have been in the first place with my family in Arizona. So, Lord willing, I don't go back to prison. That's what
Have you seen your substance use assessment?
Haven't seen it? I know I wrote it, didn't I?
So you came back with a alcohol use disorder mild. And so there's a few ways you can test. One is no issue, then there's mild, moderate, and severe. So you're not at the top, but you're not, it's not like you don't have a disorder. You know, when I was reading this, I was thinking to myself, what in the world, or why in the world would somebody who killed somebody in a drunk driving accident that doesn't really test for having that bad of a disorder would go out and risk it all again? And this is where allocution is so beneficial to a judge, because until you spoke, all I see is what's on paper. And there's clearly a lot more you're dealing with than what comes through in the assessment. And for that, I'm sorry. I thank you for your service. Not everybody can do that. I'm sorry the VA doesn't feel as though you have done enough to qualify for services. And I'm also sorry that the Arkansas Department of Corrections doesn't feel a need to do more with you for some sort of intervention or alcohol disorder. In Michigan, the way the law works is if you have a parole hold on you, you are not eligible for the jail credit. You're essentially sitting on dead time. So by my calculation, you've been in 82 days sitting on dead time on a 93-day misdemeanor. However, I do have some equity power when it comes for sentencing in the court. I will take that into account when I sentence you. I'll also be honest, normally I would consider putting you on a period of probation, but I don't think that's going to be beneficial, because I will be very surprised if Arkansas doesn't take some sort of action. What that action is going to be, I don't know, but some sort of action. It goes to your credit that you know that there's issues you have to work through and that you've enrolled yourself in counseling. Why Catholic Human Services isn't seeing you in the jail, I don't know. I can tell you that you're not the first one to tell me that, but why? I'm sorry, I said Catholic Human Services. I meant community mental health. Why they're not seeing you in the jail, I don't know. I'm glad you were able to find Amy Cox and work with her a little bit, and that you've gone to some AA classes. So, Mr. Porth, and you know this, but for the grace of God, nobody was killed in this accident. You were stopped for a taillight. You were a .149. I'll be honest, some education in this regard would be beneficial, but like I said, there's a lot more going on than what I'm going to be able to help you with for probation. And probably it's going to be a moot point, because Arkansas is going to do what Arkansas does. So you've sat 82 days so far, like I said. I'm going to give you credit for those 82 days. And my sentence today is going to be 0 days jail with 0 days credit. Taking that into account that you've set 82 days dead time. There is a $75 Crime Victims' Rights Fund fee, a $50 state minimum fee, $150 fine, $150 court costs, $150 attorney fee, $100 prosecutor fee. And this was a blood draw, correct? So $300 to the sheriff's department. Those last two fees, sir, are in Michigan. In certain cases, they're able to recover a portion of the expense in prosecuting these cases. Drunk driving's happened to be one of those, and so that's what those two fees are for. Any balance that remains unpaid for more than 56 days will have a 20% penalty added to that, just so you're aware of it. Mr. Porth, again, I mean it when I say thank you for your service. And this country does a terrible job of taking care of its veterans, and for that, I apologize. Best of luck to you moving forward. And hopefully you're going to be able to work through the issues that brought you here today. All right. Best of luck, sir.